This week on the Retirement Quick Tips podcast, I'm talking about optimizing your savings. How should you prioritize your savings and where you allocate your limited financial resources in 2025? In other words, how do we save in the right accounts in the right order to get to a place of better financial stability, long-term flexibility, breathing room with your finances? So this week's episodes, more than most other weekly themes, they really do build on each other. So if you missed the previous two episodes, go back and listen to those. These are like rungs on a ladder. So the very first rung is ensuring you have enough liquid cash savings. I talked about very specific recommendations for that. I talked about primarily making sure that you're not leaving any money on the table in terms of an employer matching contribution. So at least, even if you're up to your eyeballs in debt, I would still recommend saving the 2 or 3 or 4% of your paycheck in your 401k if you are getting an employer match to save that much. So whatever the employer matches, whatever you need to do to maximize that match, we want to at least be doing that amount. Now, that's a point of controversy. You could find people who would argue well that you should ignore your 401k contribution for a long time to pay off your debts. And I somewhat agree with that. The issue I take with that is that too many people will not save anything for retirement for years, decades in some cases. So you get to a lot of Americans financially, they never got themselves fully out of that debt hole that they were always trying to get out of. And they never saved a meaningful amount in their 401k. And you fast forward, they're in their 40s, 50s, and they have not nearly enough saved for retirement. And now they're super stressed about, oh my gosh, how do I catch up? They could have been saving a lot more. And they didn't leave that free money on the table in terms of the employer match either. So that's the primary reason why I think we can't ever stop maximizing at least enough to get the match. And in general, it's going to be anywhere from like 3 to 5% of your pay. If you save that much, you'll end up getting a matching contribution in many cases. So just make sure you're paying attention to that. Even if you have debt, don't let that fall completely by the wayside, because all of a sudden you're 55 and you're like, dang it, I got $12 in my 401k and that's just not going to cut it for retirement. Okay. The next rung on the ladder that I'm focusing on today is debt. So if you have credit cards, student loans, car loans, a HELOC to pay off, whatever those debts are that are not your mortgage, we want those gone, especially prior to retirement. The clients that I have and the people that I know who are the most chill, relaxed financially, it's because they don't have debt. They don't have any cares. I mean, they have some cares, but like they're living well below their means. Their house and their property taxes are affordable. They can pay for groceries. If you look at the amount of money that you are putting towards debt service on a monthly basis, and you took all of that away, how much better off would you be financially? How much more relaxed would you be? You have a lot more options now. You can travel more, you can do more things. So depending on how much debt you have, unfortunately, you could spend years in this stage, which again, that's why I go back to, we can't forget about the 401k contributions completely, because it could take you 10 or 15 years to get out of a debt hole. And we don't want to stop those retirement contributions while you're doing that. So most people, though, unfortunately, it's demoralizing. They just sit there and say, screw that. I'm just going to continue to spend. I'm going to go on vacations. I'm going to get a new car every few years, a nice brand new car every few years. But not you. If financial security and peace of mind in retirement is a priority for you, which I'm sure it is because you wouldn't be listening to this podcast, your future self is going to thank you when those debts are gone. Now, you could take a number of different methods for tackling the debts. I personally like a combination of a couple different methods. The debt snowball is a popular one because you pay off the smallest debts first. I like that because you get those nice psychological, easy, quick wins. But I also think it's important to, once you've started on that path, to look also at paying off the highest interest rate debt, because financially that's going to save you more money in the long run. So it doesn't really matter. You just got to pick a method and get an amortization calculator, figure out how long it's going to take you, figure out how much you can put towards that debt service every month. That will help you make a concrete plan to get that debt out of your life. But first, you got to take an inventory of all your debts. So that's where that debt amortization comes in. We want to know what it is, what the interest rate is, how much you owe, how much longer you have to pay on that debt, what are the monthly payments. This is essential to creating your payoff plan. The other thing here is, once you know how long it's going to take to pay all that debt off, making a plan to do that, that plan is not going to be fun. It's like losing weight. I have a cheesecake sitting in my fridge. I would love to eat that cheesecake, but I'm not going to eat that cheesecake. So you may not be eating out much. You may not be going on vacations, or maybe if you do, I'm not saying don't go on any vacations, but you may need to take a staycation, or like go somewhere it's an hour drive versus like a 10-hour plane flight to some tropical place. Okay, you may be doing this for 2 or 3 or 4 years, but I am telling you, the debt has to go. If you only have a small amount of debt, or maybe a 1 car loan or something like that, and it's not impeding your ability to max out your retirement savings, you're on track for retirement, you're not behind on that, then I'm not so concerned about getting all weird about paying off your debt like a crazy person. But most people are so far behind on saving enough for retirement, and it's debt and spending that is the reason why. They have way too much consumer debt. It is crushing them financially. Debt has to be the priority if you are not already ahead of where you need to be in saving enough for retirement. All right, so that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Ashley Michike, and this is the Retirement Quick Tips Podcast.